NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte visits Washington to discuss the war in Ukraine and the future of NATO with U.S. President Donald Trump.
Russia's President Vladimir Putin says he agrees in principle with the U.S. proposal for a 30-day ceasefire in Ukraine.
Former Polish President and Nobel Peace Prize laureate Lech Wałęsa discusses Russia's invasion of Ukraine in an exclusive interview with Euronews.
Belgian police raid the Brussels headquarters of Huawei and make some arrests as part of a corruption probe linked to the European Parliament.
NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte visited the White House to meet with U.S. President Donald Trump. The meeting took place on the same day that Russian President Vladimir Putin agreed in principle with the U.S. proposal for a ceasefire in its war on Ukraine. Many items were on the agenda, chief among them the Kremlin's invasion of Kyiv.
We're going to be discussing a lot of things, obviously. We'll be discussing what's happening with respect to Ukraine and Russia. At this moment, we have people talking in Russia. We have representatives over there, Steve Witkoff and others, and they're in very serious discussions.
Also on the agenda was U.S.-Europe defense cooperation and Washington's commitment to NATO after Trump had made repeated threats to withdraw the U.S. from the military alliance. Trump and Rutte did not schedule a post-meeting press conference, but speaking to reporters in the Oval Office, Rutte hailed Europe's latest efforts to bolster its defenses and commitment to increase military spending.
What happened the last couple of weeks is really staggering. The Europeans committing to a package of 800 billion defense spending. The Germans now, potentially up to $500 billion extra in defense spending. And then, of course, you had Keir Starmer here, the British Prime Minister, and others, all committing to much higher defense spending. We're not there. We need to do more, but I really want to work together with you in a run-up to the The Hague Summit to make sure that we will have a NATO which is really reinvigorated under your leadership.
The pair also discussed Greenland, which Trump has been eyeing to take under U.S. control. The 47th U.S. president renewed his interest in the Arctic island under the Danish crown, adding that the NATO boss could be instrumental to realizing that goal.
Russia's President Vladimir Putin has said he agrees in principle with the U.S. proposal for a 30-day ceasefire in Ukraine. But he said some of the terms still need to be worked out and that the deal should pave the way to an enduring peace.
Сама по себе идея правильная, и мы, безусловно, ее поддерживаем. Но есть вопросы, которые мы должны обсудить. И думаю, что нам нужно и с американскими нашими коллегами, партнерами на этот счет переговорить. Может быть, с президентом Трампом созвониться и вместе с ним пообсуждать. Но сама по себе идея закончить этот конфликт мирными средствами нами поддерживается.
Putin also said any deal should tackle what the Kremlin calls the root causes of the conflict. That's thought to be a reference to Ukraine's wish to join the NATO military alliance, something Moscow has said it won't tolerate. Also expected to be a topic Moscow and Kyiv won't agree on is what happens to the territory Russia seized during the war. Putin didn't mention Moscow's occupation of Ukrainian territory or the atrocities committed during the full-scale invasion, now in its fourth year. Ukraine agreed to a US proposed month-long ceasefire on Tuesday only if Russia abides by it, following negotiations in the Saudi Arabian city of Jeddah.
Germany's likely next Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, urged lawmakers on Thursday to loosen the country's strict debt limits to increase defense spending. Merz says his multi-billion euro proposal to reform Germany's debt brake is essential to ensure national and European security.
Die ständigen Angriffe auf unsere Infrastruktur, Drohnenüberflüge über unsere Kasernen, ein hybrider Krieg, der stattfindet, der in den letzten Wochen massiv eskaliert ist, mit Unsicherheiten, die größer sind als je zuvor. Wir müssen jetzt etwas tun, um unsere Verteidigungsfähigkeit deutlich zu erhöhen, und zwar schnell und in großer außen- und sicherheitspolitischer Geschlossenheit.
The proposal comes amid growing European worries over security after US President Donald Trump's shifting foreign policy stance that's been highly critical of Europe. The German debt brake restricts new borrowing to a maximum of 0.35% of GDP. Merz wants to exclude defense spending that exceeds 1% from the debt brake. The proposal sparked criticism in the German Bundestag.
Noch kein Bewerber um das Kanzleramt hat in so kurzer Zeit so viele Wahlversprechen gebrochen wie Sie, Herr Merz. Schuldenbremse weg damit, obwohl es in Ihrem Wahlprogramm stand. Sie werden in die Geschichte eingehen als der Totengräber der Schuldenbremse, die Sie im Wahlkampf noch so vehement wie verlogen verteidigt haben.
Germany's debt brake was written into constitution in 2009 at the height of the global financial crisis. Merz, alongside would-be coalition partners, the Social Democrats, need the support of Greens in the parliament to meet the required two-thirds threshold.
Belgian police has searched the Brussels headquarters of Huawei and several homes in a major corruption investigation linked to the European Parliament. According to reports, 15 current or previous MEPs might be targeted in the case, and some arrests have been already made. Investigators suspect that members of the network received bribes in exchange for influencing EU decision-making in Huawei's favor.
This comes as no surprise because in the wake of Qatargate scandal, the Parliament simply didn't put in the necessary reforms that they should have to prevent the next scandal, and here we are today. Until there are rules in place that prevent gifts being received, travel being paid for, lucrative side jobs to be had by MEPs, there will always be this risk.
Belgian prosecutors sealed the offices of 2 assistants to MEPs and notified the Parliament's president about the proceedings. The Parliament's press service said they will cooperate with the investigators. The European Parliament's reputation suffered a serious blow 3 years ago when a corruption ring working to promote the interest of Qatar was dismantled. One thing is for sure for this EU institution: there will be a huge reputational damage in the coming weeks. Sándor Zsíros reported for Euronews in Brussels.
This French military vessel is hunting naval mines as part of an exercise dubbed Ariadne, commanded by the Greek Navy. Teams from the US, Romania and Belgium are also taking part. On board each ship are mine clearance divers and specialized drones. We caught up with Commandant Méline of the Capricorn to learn more.
Le scénario est donc un pays mino-Asland qui est prospère et qui a une faction terroriste qui aurait effectué du minage sur les zones. Et donc l'objectif de notre task group, c'est d'intervenir sur une résolution de l'ONU pour aller garantir la liberté de circulation des zones maritimes dans les eaux territoriales du Mino-Asland. Chez les Grecs, il y a donc une frégate à bord duquel se trouve le chef de la task force, également un bâtiment base de plongeurs roumains. Et enfin, participent également à cet exercice des équipes de drones sous-marins américains et belges.
This sort of painstaking work, nowadays primarily used to clear mines that have been used in conflict since the First World War or to secure theatres of operations before the deployment of other military vessels, is about to undergo a revolution, as next-generation naval drones should come online in a few years and replace the need for this demagnetized ship to navigate over underwater minefields, which puts dozens of sailors' lives at risk. The French military is currently testing such a drone. This anti-mine warfare exercise is also aimed at fostering cooperation among NATO maritime forces and, crucially, boosting interoperability, a key goal of the military alliance since the outbreak of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine.
Les chasseurs de mines français sont intégrés donc dans les task group OTAN permanentes qui sont stationnés en Méditerranée ou en l'océan Atlantique. Le Capricorne a participé à l'exercice Steadfast Start 2025, qui est l'exercice majeur de l'OTAN pour l'année 2025. Nous retrouverons le TG OTAN aux alentours de Rota pour participer à un autre exercice à l'invitation de Sismicol. Et les chasseurs, il y a également un chasseur de mines français qui est intégré à la TG OTAN.
Alice Tidy for Euronews, off the coast of Crete.
United Nations-backed experts on Thursday accused Israel of systematic use of sexual, reproductive and other gender-based violence in its war against Hamas in the Gaza Strip. Reproductive violence refers to a wide range of sexual violence, including forced pregnancy, enforced sterilization and forced abortion, among other things.
Our report finds that Israel has increasingly employed sexual, reproductive and other forms of gender-based violence against Palestinians as part of a broader effort to undermine their right to self-determination. It also concludes that Israel has carried out genocidal acts through the systematic destruction of sexual and reproductive healthcare facilities.
Israel rejected the allegations, accusing the Commission of Inquiry of relying on second-hand, single, uncorroborated sources and refusing to cooperate with it. The Commission also accused Israeli security forces of rape and sexual violence against Palestinian detainees. Israel denies any systematic abuse of prisoners and says it takes action when there are violations. Hamas says the report by United Nations-backed human rights experts is confirmation of severity of the crime Israel is inflicting on the Palestinians. The Commission's findings can be used as evidence for the International Criminal Court or other bodies that seek to prosecute war crimes.